going to, of course, say welcome to everyone. Thanks for bringing your minds to an overview of Buddhist thought. If you can, mute yourselves. Otherwise, I'll mute you all. I'm also going to make the chat not chattable. Participants no one can chat to anyone. So if you have a question, you can just press the reactions emoji and put your hands up or something, and I'll connect. And then I'll open up the chat when we have an opportunity. It worked better on Tuesday, where we could be focused right here and now. So you're at 3 Joules, an overview of the entire Buddhist system, 20 years of study, condensed into 8-year course at 3 Joules, condensed into a few months. So you're getting just a few months, and you're getting to taste the overall approach of a wake-upist, a Buddhist, someone who wants to wake up, Buddha, from what seems to be the way things work, but we know they're not 100% that way. Can I wake up to what I'm missing? Can I see the code behind the matrix? And so we're studying texts from the years 300 to 500 BC, 1500s, 1800s, all these monks and nuns and pandits who have been practicing these things like meditation, compassion, karma, philosophy, and all this stuff. And we're getting a condensed version of our history, our human history, to overcome the suffering side of human condition, if I can summarize what the hell we're doing here. So relax about taking on the knowledge. You won't get it all in a class. You won't get it in 5 classes, but you'll taste it, and a shape will begin to form in your mind about what the hell we're talking about. And all of this is so we can apply it to our next moment. None of this is just philosophy for the sake of philosophy. 100% of all the heady stuff we're talking about needs to be applied to next time you encounter an issue in your life that you want to overcome, or you encounter something in your life that you just adore and love and feel amazing and you want to continue. So that's really the game here. It's not to learn some weird esoteric Eastern philosophy. Go to Colombia for that, and then live your normal suffering life. This is really to overcome that in a day-to-day applicable thing. So, which I think it's better than philosophers, because you can actually get to work at yourself, right? And put it into practice. So not to say bad things about philosophers. And as you know, Javier is co-teaching this session with me. And then we're going to do another course in November, another course in December, January. Let me share screen so you could see where we're up to. Can you all see the slide that says enlightenment? Can I get a thumbs up if you can, since I've muted you all? Good. Thanks so much. And nothing is obstructing that image. You can all see that clearly. Get that? Good. Excellent. We're working hard. Now, before we enter thinking about this stuff or applying our minds to this thing, suspend normal for a bit, we generate a motivation that is bigger than every day. And to do that, we do this thing called offering the mandala, which means our minds should imagine, what would a perfected experience be like? What would a world where people are not suffering anymore actually taste like? And can I offer that up to that thing that calls me to learn? So we'll do that. I'll do the chant, and you can just think of the English meaning on the right as best as you can, but it basically lets your mind fantasize that if I can apply these things and transcend suffering, what would it feel like for my neighbors and the animals and the humans and the next generations? So just relax. If you're doing the mudra, remember we taught it last class, but you can just do that. It's whatever makes you think of the universe and all the beings in it. Sashi Poki Jushin Metok Tram Rira Lingxi Nyinde Mpadi Sangye shindu mite guargi drogen nanda shinla chupar sho idam guru ratna mandala kam niryatayami sangye jirang zoki shognam la Jantu bardu dakni gapsuchi Daki jinyangi pesanam ki Drolavanjir sange driparsho Sange jidang zogi jognam la Janju bardu dakni gapsuchi Daki shinyangi petanam ki Trola vanjir sange druparsho Sange jidang zoki jognam lam Janju bardu dakni gapsuchi Daki jinyangi petanam ki
Crazy.
Panchir sange drupar show. And what we're supposed to be thinking in this next prayer, the refuge and the wish, is those things we touched upon last Tuesday, which is, can I take refuge in the Buddha jewel, Dharma jewel, and Sangha jewel? Can my mind go there for real protection so I can do this for the sake of everyone, bodhicitta, and reach that state myself? So I'm going to invite Javier. Javier, do you want to do a quick review on some of the key things we did this week on Tuesday?
Yeah, 2 days ago. Yeah, let's do that. So Prajnaparamita. So what we're doing this week and Tuesday and today, we're going through the refuge, the Buddhist refuge course, right? And there's like 3-4 main things that we're going to review that will help you understand the class today that we touched on the class last week. Anybody quickly remember what Prajnaparamita is? The translation? If you can unmute yourself. Hector remembers. Okay, so it's the perfection of wisdom. Oh, sorry, Jane raised her hand. Too late, I already said it. It's the perfection of wisdom. I'll let you say it the next time. My bad. So what is this, the perfection of wisdom? Because it sounds like huge and something like almost foreign. And the perfection of wisdom can be many things in Buddhism. The main thing that we want to touch upon, it's that direct perception of this thing that we call emptiness, when it's completely filled with this compassionate feeling of bodhicitta, which we have talked about before. We're going to touch on it right now, right? It's like this wish to attain the highest mental level that will free you from suffering, and now you have the knowledge to bring everybody also into this enlightenment, blessed state of mind. It can also be the collection of books. It's part of the 6 perfections. The most important thing that we want to keep in mind is that it is not just the direct perception of the ultimate truth, but the direct perception of the ultimate truth filled up with compassion for every being that exists. So when you hear Prajnaparamita, or the perfection of wisdom, that's what should pop up first. After that, anything you want. And what is refuge? So we touched that's what we're touching most in here, right? And refuge, defined properly, is when your mind by its own accord, meaning by itself without you forcing it, seeks protection of something. So what is Buddhist refuge? And Buddhist refuge is when you have developed a state of mind that which by its own accord seeks protection in this concept of emptiness and in those who have perceived it. and who can help you perceive it. And why is that even important? It really is important because without the clear understanding of emptiness, we're still going to be acting in a broken way, and we're going to keep perpetuating what keeps arising that we don't like. All the yuckiness of life, like Hector would say, all that nastiness that gets us angry and sad and desperate,
Okay.
all of that, it's that's the protection from that will only come from the understanding of emptiness ultimately, and from the people, the masters who have perceived this. So that's in gross range what Buddhist refuge is. We can go in detail on all the types of refuge. We're going to go into one kind of refuge right now in the review, which is result refuge. In my opinion, the most fun of all the refuges, because in result refuge, you're taking refuge on that future version of yourself who already attained this state. If you have proved yourself that this is possible, and you have the understanding of what an enlightened being might be like and might think like intellectually, then you can take refuge on the idea that there's a future version of you that it's already enlightened. And if all the qualities of an enlightened being are true, this future version of you, yourself, this piece of that mind stream is actually putting all these seeds and all these playful things in your life to help you get towards that point. That's result refuge. So refuge, Buddhist refuge, one thing before I forget, because that's important. Remember that the mind goes to it on its own accord. So it's habitual, right? It's not something that you need to force. You have to force it to get there. You have to build a habit. It's a new thing that you have to build a habit for. Once you have developed the habit, that's the first thought that pops up. Oh, I'm being yelled at work or at home. This event, this thing, it's empty. How did I get here? What caused it? How can I transform it? When your mind goes there immediately, then you can consider yourself to having accomplished like the state of mind of Buddhist refuge. Otherwise, we're pretending, and pretending is fine because that's how we build habits. And we pretend basically that the last point, bodhicitta, this compassion, this idea that, wow, if this is all true and I have proved myself that it is intellectually, and maybe I reach a point where I have proved myself viscerally and experientially that it's all 100% true. I have no doubt. I want to tell everybody, right? Like that's something that happens a lot when people start studying Buddhism. They exit the class and they want to tell everyone they know about this thing that they learn, emptiness and karma, and there's a pen and there's all these things, and it's that feeling, that compassionate, I want to share this amazing knowledge that's going to free up all with everyone, and I want to reach this level so I can teach it to everyone. That's bodhicitta, that wanting to reach full enlightenment so you can take everybody to enlightenment. So those are the four main things that we're reviewing from previous classes, so we can dive right into this class. Anything else that you'd like to add, Hector, to all that?
I just want to review the 5 paths, but thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we did that last class, Prajnaparamita refuge, the trick of result refuge, which tricks your mind into experiencing what could be, and gets you results. And then bodhicitta, this wish to wake up for the sake of everyone. Now, I don't know if you remember last week, we talked about these 5 paths, and the transition between our spiritual development happens mostly in meditation, having our minds concentrated on something. So we can live an unexamined life, and that unexamined life, we all know where that leads. But if you have some shock, some problem, something that makes you question reality, you begin to get renunciation, like the normal way of doing things don't work for me. I want to figure out a different way, a real way that can ultimately help me. And so that's called the path of accumulation. You're accumulating knowledge. You'll keep seeing these 5 paths because you can tell where you are in your spiritual career. And it's not just for Buddhists. It means for anyone with a human condition, once you get fed up with things breaking and getting disappointed and heartbreak or whatever, or nice things going away, they say everybody goes through these 5 stages: broken to I want to figure out what makes things broken. And so you're investigating in a new way. You get renunciation, like the old way isn't working. Let me figure it out. And so it's important because that reframes the way we experience difficult situations. Sometimes a very difficult situation might be the thing that wakes you up to want to figure it all out. So that's, you begin to accumulate knowledge on what it is that is making things function for us, or making us hurt, or making us lose the things we like. And then once you latch onto something, once you get some wisdom of what actually is, Buddhists don't own what actually is. What is. Buddhists just have a particular way to experience it, right? Mostly in meditation and practice of compassion and wisdom. So then the path of preparation, you begin to prepare your mind. You try to go to refuge. You try to think about the pen thing, the way that things are ultimately existent are empty. Therefore, my mind is doing something, and I can figure out what my mind is doing and change that. Then my reality will be different. And so you enter the path of preparation. You study a lot. You try and look at the world differently. You meditate a lot, and this builds up spiritual pressure. And you're preparing actually to have not just an intellectual experience of emptiness, the fact that things exist without a nature and that the nature is coming from us. You eventually have that experience directly in a meditative state because you've prepared your mind that way. You've investigated, you stopped acting in ways that would cause you suffering, and then you begin to get those results in your mind. And if you're meditating well, you will be able to see this ultimate nature of all things, and therefore you will also see what it is that's causing our pain in the first place. What movement in my mind is actually projecting onto something broken or departing or etc. Everything. And that's a fundamental change in the human condition. And you can get this in many other traditions as well. They call it by many other names. But from the Buddhist perspective, they say you will come to see that all things that exist around us are empty of a nature, meaning they don't force themselves on you. You're forcing yourself on them against your will. Something else is forcing that, right? It's your actions from the past. And so then you begin to habituate your life to be congruent with the way things really are. And then you're off to the races. You're fast track removing the obstacles that cause the suffering in our lives. And that then leads you to the state of an enlightened being, the path of no more learning. So for those of you that are interested to take notes of these 5 paths, is path of accumulation, you get renunciation. You're like, I'm doing something that's not working. I want to figure it out. Let me accumulate this knowledge. The path of preparation is you're onto something. You're understanding your relationship to reality. So you're preparing your mind, intellectually understanding karma and emptiness, the things I do and how the result of that is up in my mind projected onto blank screens, emptiness, and how that is the way I experience reality. Therefore, I can produce a powerful reality free from suffering. And then you keep doing that, meditate, begin to settle your mind so you could see the workings of your mind. And when you do, you'll have a direct experience of that ultimate reality, emptiness, the path of seeing. You see it directly. And when you come out of there, garbage life doesn't stop just because you saw the way things work. You actually have to stop creating the garbage that is popping up for our lives. And that's called the path of habituation. Can I change my behavior to be in accord with reality? So these are the 5 paths, very fundamental. And refuge is the thing that gets us there, because refuge is all about trying to understand intellectually this thing called emptiness. That's a good review for last week? Is everyone okay with that? Good. You'll get to hear these words over and over. But remember, every creature called human, someone's not muted. Can you mute yourself if you are there? If you're not muted, can you try? Um, these the transition between these things are mostly happening in meditation, where you actually slow everything down and see how your mind is fabricating a model of reality that is not reality. And when you've settled your mind right down, you can actually experience what is. And when you do, you're home free. And I find real hope in that, but you have to understand it intellectually. And that's what all the readings and so on is all about. This class, I want to talk about nirvana. Oops. Sorry, I forgot I had sounds last. Anyway, that was supposed to be my play on the album Nirvana for those of you who are older than 60 or something. Yeah, Zach is going, yeah, I'm 60. Thanks. So Nirvana, not the band, but this term that you hear in Buddhism all the time. So what is Nirvana? Well, I'm going to share with you the technical definition, because people have a misunderstanding of it's not a place. Okay, it's not like heaven. It's not like, yo, I found Nirvana, now I'm good, I'm here. Yeah, get this. If everything is empty of a nature, just like the pen, if this entire world you're living in, the coordinates you're sitting on, the room you're on, whatever's on your butt cheeks, whatever you're sitting on, right? All those sensory stuff, if they are all empty of a nature, they're not coming at you. In fact, your mind is perceiving them in this particular way because of something in your mind. Then this world that we call the planet Earth is also a projection of us and all the people in it. And that has broken bits in it. People die, people war, couch breaks down. If you sit too long on that, your butt cheeks are going to hurt, right? It's not comfortable forever. Like, things break down here. If things don't have that nature, then they're all available to be not suffering anymore, but peace or bliss, if your mind has the seeds to project it that way. And so nirvana is right here, you're sitting on it. What's happening is our minds can't conceive it. It's not like you're going to some place. Whenever you walk, you're walking through a potential nirvana. And whenever you look, you're looking at a potential thing that is bliss and beauty and stunning. It's just that our seeds don't have that spectrum yet. Whenever you look at your body and you see it getting old and hairless, it's not its nature. Its nature is empty. I am looking at a divine being, potentially. And if I could change my seeds, I would be forced to see this not as a human arm, but as an arm of an alignment. It's possible because of the pen thing. So logically, we figured it out. And it's not like you have to believe it. You have to logically understand it. That's a path of preparation. Investigate it, try and break it, and until you get it. And then if you're meditating on it, you're like, oh my God, it's absolutely true. Sometimes I feel my skin is awesome, and sometimes I think it's terrible. The skin is the same. My mind has changed. If I figure out what fluctuates my mind, then I could permanently have that experience. And here is the technical definition of nirvana, okay? It's the permanent, it's forever, cessation, stopping, in which one has eliminated the mental affliction obstacles. Sorry about the Buddhists' language. All that means is that whatever your mind is projecting onto this world and yourself that is afflicted, meaning, oh, my mum died. Oh, my hair fell out. Oh, I liked ice cream, it melted. Oh, I liked ice cream, it gave me diabetes. Yeah, whatever the reality is that we are living has in it a brokenness, and that afflicts our mind. That forces us to hurt. Do you remember I talked about the honey on a razor blade thing? Did I do that with you all? Or did I do that with someone else? I did, right, Anna? Yeah, the honey on a razor blade. Even the nicest thing here, if looked at objectively, is like honey on a razor blade. You taste the goodness, but if it necessarily ends in a negativity, it can't be called a goodness. And that is what they say mental afflictions. Our minds will eventually be afflicted about everything we're collecting. Every piece of clothing that you bought so excitedly, you're going to be afflicted about it at some point. There'll be a razor blade at the end of the shoes, or the shirt, or the suit, or the status, or the hairdo. At some point, unless you're with a mullet and you stayed with the mullet since the 80s, right? It'll come back into fashion. At some point, your mind will be dissatisfied with that thing. It's afflicted about that thing. And so nirvana here is like, is there something that can cause the mind to permanently remove all those mental afflictions, anything at all that bothers or disturbs the mind in their entirety, forever and altogether? That's possible if our minds are empty of a nature. If our minds are like the pen, then it's possible to completely remove any negative experience the mind is forced to perceive. Permanently, it's possible. With logic, right? And check this out. This is a pain in the butt, Buddhism pain in the butt, right? Because these technical definitions all refer to some experience someone's had. And says, like, you get rid of those afflictions permanently in their entirety due to one's individual analysis. What the hell does that mean, right? What the hell does one's individual? So just so you don't think nirvana is some fluffy Buddhist or Eastern word, it's very precise. It says there is something that cuts away your mind's afflictions permanently and altogether after, because of your mind analyzing something. And get this, here is what we're analyzing in a summary. Does that all make sense so far? Yeah, nirvana, now you got some idea. My mind no longer afflicted forever because of this thing that my mind has individually analyzed. What is it? So they say, remember in the path of seeing, you've habituated your mind that things don't have a nature. You're preparing your mind to see that in meditation. So you're actively trying to study emptiness, practice cause and effect, karma and response. Look for the emptiness all the time of myself and the world and the rest. So your mind is getting prepared. And at some point, you're going to have a direct experience in the path of seeing. So let me break in that path of seeing a little. When you have this direct experience of emptiness, I see you, Suvon. Let me answer in a sec, yeah. Sorry, is it Savon who raised their hand? We've got a couple of raised hands. I'll answer them in just a sec. Yeah, just keep your questions for a sec. In that direct experience of emptiness, meaning you are in deep meditation, a very specific level of meditation, nothing is waking you up from this meditation. Your mind is single pointed on wisdom, particularly analyzing the wisdom of yourself, the nature of yourself. And your mind comes up to the emptiness of yourself and you abide there. That's a very special experience called the path of seeing. At some point, you'll come out of that meditation. Your mind will finish that experience, and they say it's a feeling of coming down, of sinking in, of returning here mentally, right, to the world that appears it's projecting itself onto you, but you've just seen how you project onto it because it doesn't have a nature. And so it feels like something's closing in on you, they say. And for 24 hours after that experience, you can't engage with the world in the same way you used to. The world is calling you to engage with it the way you used to. Like, my mom makes me angry, my brother is upsetting me. Your mind will begin to remember that, but you have seen the opposite. It is that all those things are empty, and my mind has forced me to have this experience because of something. And so over 24 hours, during the 24 hours that follow the direct perception of emptiness, you have this perception called the 16 particular things that happen to your mind, and they're grouped into this famous list, which is the thing the Buddha first taught, called the Four Truths. They're sometimes translated as the Four Noble Truths, but there's nothing noble about them. They're called the Four Arya Truths. Truths of an Arya, a being who has stopped or is beginning to stop their mental afflictions. Yeah, a being who has seen emptiness. So these Arya truths are direct, that follow the next 24 hours. There's a bunch of stories about that, 16 aspects of the Four Truths. But here's the essence. Actually, before I go to the essence, Sauban, is that how you say your name? Just unmute yourself and ask the question.
If Alban. I just wanted to ask, is emptiness the same as nothingness?
No.
So what would be the difference?
We'll cover it.
Okay.
But I'll give you a word that it won't make any. It's the lack of something that is not there. We'll cover it at the end of this class. Yeah? Emptiness is the lack of something that you thought was there but could never have been there. We think the pen is coming from it, that has some nature of penness. When you realize there is nothing here that could have projected pen, you found the emptiness of this object. It lacks an impossible thing. And we'll cover it. We'll cover it. Who else had their hand up that I missed? Unmute yourself and ask. If it's no one, then I proceed. Thank you. So let's spend a little bit of time looking at these four truths, which is, get this, it is the experience your mind naturally has after you've seen the code behind the matrix. You've seen emptiness directly, you've seen the real nature of reality and how your mind projects that. You know with certainty it's a truth in meditation, and you come down and you begin to pop these experiences. And they are. We're going to do an exercise on these, so please pay attention. Yeah. The first experience is, which is what the Buddha taught first words. They said, the world is suffering. Life is suffering. There's a problem. Houston, there's a problem. And I want to connect you to the discussion we had on Tuesday of what it is we want refuge from. Remember, all of us had some thing in our groups that we want refuge from, anxiety, lack of money, bad self-esteem, and we all did all those exercises, right? The first thing we must recognize is that everything here will break. Everyone you know will die, will get sick and die. And instead of getting really upset about it and depressed and sad about it, there is actually something you can do about it. And so the four truths, you begin to realize, oh my God, all this suffering around me, I just saw an ultimate thing. And then you recognize all this suffering outside of me and inside of me, all my anxiety, all my negativity, all the crappiness in the world, I acknowledge it exists. The second of the truths that you have, this realization after seeing the nature of things, is that it has a cause. And that cause is in my mind, forcing that reality on. I lit the match of this world, of the burnings I've experienced, not consciously, not on purpose, but by cause and effect. There's a problem. I'm part of the problem. I've created the problems of perceiving those things that way. Those things are hard to hear. But imagine having a wake-up moment, a Buddha moment, where it says, oh my goodness, all the problems I've ever had, I've played some part in them. And then the third thing you have is like, it's possible to completely get rid of those problems because I played a part in them. If I figure out what it was that created that projection for me and stop it, then I no longer have that problem and I can't be forced to perceive. And those mental affliction, things that afflict my mind, can be removed completely. So after coming down from the direct perception of emptiness, meaning I see how reality functions, you go, oh my God, everything here is a suffering, even the nicest thing. And you're not depressed about it, you're energized because you say, hold on, that comes from me. Every time I felt lonely, is because I tried to separate people in the past. Every time I felt lacking is because I took stuff from people in the past. You get this connection between the causes of your experience and your experience. But instead of getting sad, you're like, oh my God, I just figured out the workings of this reality. And it means I can actually be free from every suffering. I can stop all the sufferings. It's possible. The third of the truths. The fourth one is there is a path to remove all those sufferings. There are things I have to do, and that's all in the path of habituation. The stuff I can do, I need to do to actually stop the broken that keeps appearing behind every glob of honey. The razor blades that keep appearing behind every nice thing, I can actually, there's a path to remove them altogether because everything's empty of their nature. Does that make some sense, what I'm saying? Yeah? Life is suffering, and it's not to depress you. It's like recognize what is. That suffering didn't come of nowhere and someone's forcing it on you. Your perception is forcing it on you. Because it's inside of you, you can change it permanently so you can be free from it. But then you got to do something to be free from it. And that's the 4 Arya truths. Then you'll find a question about all sorts of kinds of nirvana. And this is just to highlight that depending on all the philosophers and debaters, you can cause your mind to be almost free of everything, or they say nirvana with something left over or something remaining. It means your mind can be free from suffering, but then you still carry around a body that will eventually break. And so there are some negativities still to break. With nothing left over is you can reach this state of seeing emptiness directly and then purifying your afflictions, so much so that you are at the point of death, you no longer then have a body and your mind is free. And then the last one is, which doesn't stay into extremes, and you'll see in the reading what that means, but we won't go into it. Just know that there are, between Buddhists, when they say the word enlightenment, it means nirvana, it means any one of these 3 nirvanas. It means Buddhahood completely as well. So it's more to it than just, enlightenment. Yeah, it's very particular, very detailed. So what's the time? How are we doing? 8:10. Good. I'm gonna, if anyone has any questions, I'm probably gonna say to you, I'll give you an answer later, but let's unmute yourselves if you have a question, and we'll spend a few minutes before Javier goes into how to get to nirvana. Anyone got any questions, concerns?
Hector, have you directly experienced emptiness?
That's a great question. Who said that?
It's Alex, but my camera's not working today, unfortunately.
Hi, Alex. The answer is I don't think so. No, I have not. So I'm relying on an intellectual understanding of emptiness. The other thing you should know is that those that have seen emptiness don't talk about seeing emptiness. It's like Jesus talking about miracles. You have to believe me that I've done a miracle. Yeah. So the answer is no, I have not. And I have an intellectual understanding of emptiness. But also, just so you know, if you were to ask someone that did see emptiness, they won't necessarily tell you that they have. I know it's a shitty answer. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah. No, it was shitty when I got that answer. I'm like, come on. Anyway, and there's reasons for it, right? So, okay, let's say I did. Yeah. What does that do for you? Congratulations.
I'm gonna hang around you more, I guess.
Right. But what if you don't have, is it possible, get this, right? If things are empty of a nature, and this can be a chew toy or a pen, is it possible for you to be around someone that has seen emptiness, says they've seen emptiness, and your mind to say, no, they didn't? Or to be around someone that says, I haven't seen emptiness, and your mind says, no, they did. If things are empty. And not just think about it, meaning really believe it, right? Is it possible that this thing can be a pen and a chew toy, that a person saying, I've had an ultimate experience and I haven't had an ultimate experience, and your mind is forcing you to go, they're full of shit or they're amazing, regardless of what they think for themselves? Sorry to add a little complication there. Is it possible that you're on a Zoom call with 60 angels or whatever the number is, are all already enlightened, and then you're the only idiot trying to teach a class to them? Is it possible that that's a reality if things are empty of a nature? Because it's possible, right? And then your mind is like, oh my God, what do I have to say to get them to reveal themselves? And then you're having a completely different class than everyone else is having, and they're both congruent. It can be a chew toy and a pen, depending on the people in the room. It's possible. Sorry to give you a Buddhist voodoo, okay?
Thank
But
you.
you're welcome. Thanks for the question. Anyone else? Question?
Yeah, Hector.
Who was that?
That's Anna MC. Hi, I'm like a creep in the dark. Can you speak just for a moment on the relationship between non-attachment and emptiness?
Yeah, good. I can. There's so much. Sorry, I'm in a swear word mood.
Do it.
Whatever. Yeah. There's so much bullshit around all these powerful words, right? What the hell does non-attachment mean? I had a long conversation with the CEO of a company today who's trying to learn Buddhism. And so I'm giving him all this. All I'm spending time is giving. And today his question was on attachment and desire, right? Like, are we supposed to not feel anything when there's ice cream around? Or, are we supposed to not feel anything? Because, non-attachment, it's complete bullshit, right? As a Buddha, a being who has freed themselves from the mental afflictions that cause suffering, understand, because they saw the nature of things, that they can produce the highest honey, the highest bliss, the most ecstatic, like every taste is an orgasm, every touch is an orgasm. It's like bliss on steroids is the state of Buddhahood. Yeah. It's not like someone's got cancer, I don't care. Like they desire beings to be free from suffering. The Buddha wants people not to suffer. It's a desire. It's not like I have non-attachment, let the bastard suffer, I'm good, I'm enlightened. Like it's not like that at all. But yet somehow I don't know why we think that. Like we think that somehow an enlightened person doesn't give a shit. It's not at all like that. It's, imagine the highest bliss you have ever had in this life. Right? And I've married like 9 couples so far, in my, well, I guess whatever the Buddhist version of that is. I've married 9 couples. One of them is here. Not the couple, but one of them, right? And when you see these 2 people in this peak moment in their life, look into each other's eyes and lose the selfishness of, I got to get happy, I got to do this. And for that time that they're saying their vows to each other, they're looking at each other's eyes saying, whatever I need to do for your happiness, I'm there. That unconditional love that feels like at that moment, you can't have war, you can't have shitty mindset. At that moment, when you're looking at that person saying, you are my everything, and forget me for a second, I am all yours. Yeah. At that moment, when that mind is in that mindset, you can't produce a negative experience. You can't hate, you can't do it. That is the cure to everything. Now that, with the understanding of what produced that emptiness, right? The emptiness that is possible. And the only way I could have experienced that kind of deep love is if I've habituated my mind for love. That wisdom that understands what produced that peak moment, that's a tiny, tiny experience of what a Buddha would be feeling all the time, because they've permanently removed any mental affliction. And your mind is capable, my mind, everyone's minds here is 100% capable of that, because the emptiness of your mind is exactly the same as the emptiness of the Buddhist mind. It doesn't have a nature other than the nature we've habituated through our actions. They've just been working on their minds for a very long time, had an epiphany, and know exactly what to do to cause their mind to experience itself as bliss. We are like blind people thinking, I'm going to get happy by stealing someone else's hot boyfriend because they're really hot. And by taking someone's boyfriend, I've just produced the karma, the seed, to force my future boyfriends disappear. because I just took a boyfriend. You see what I mean? I have him for a moment. So having them for a moment meant I have a karma of having a boyfriend, but the action was incorrect. I just planted the opposite of what I want. And that is the great tragedy of this planet of samsara. The strategies we have for getting what we want is often planting the seeds to get rid of what we want. If I want to stop war, you don't burn someone. If you don't want to be burned. I mean, it's so simple, we miss it. So attachment here, sorry, I didn't really answer your question, but attachment, non-attachment is not believing that that boyfriend, that ice cream, that thing has any nature and putting all your hopes in that to give you that mental experience. Wisdom understands you can only ever have a powerful, beautiful moment with the boyfriend of the ice cream if you have the seeds to do it. That's why the study of karma is vital. Yeah. Emptiness is actually easy. The thing that's really difficult is like, what the hell do I have to do to plant the causes to force my mind to have bliss all the time? That's harder because A, it's counterintuitive. I think if you hurt me, I've got to hurt you. I've just planted more people hurting me. That's counterintuitive. It's not what we are used to doing. Yeah. If you yell at me, I've got to yell back. That just produced more people yelling at me. Damn it. You know, and that's the great tragedy here. If we knew what caused our reality, we would change completely. Anyway, the fact that you're even hearing this and that we're all considering it is already putting you outside the norm. This is not normal. Yeah. No, it's not normal to investigate reality to that depth, even in a Western scientific world. That's mostly interested in all the physics of things, the physical stuff out there that could give you the best taste, that could give you the best thing. It's not there. It plays a role, but it's not there. That's empty. So anyway, good question. I'm going to move on. Javier, can you talk a little, and we're going to come back to that exercise of the 4 truths. The world is a dumpster fire. Someone started the dumpster fire. It was probably you. Oh my God, the dumpster fire can stop. Thanks, Sam. Yeah. But you got to figure out exactly what will stop it. And it's not the impulse of throwing more wood or oxygen in the fire. It's something the opposite usually. Javier, you want to talk about, what was this question? The path to nirvana, right?
Yeah, the steps to nirvana, the path to nirvana. I don't remember what the question, how it's phrased in the homework really, but it's basically there's like kind of like 3 stages that the mind goes through to reach nirvana, 3 steps. The reason why these verses are in the slide is because all the stages are there in that verse. So I'm gonna let you read it on your own. Hector, by the way, I'm sorry, I didn't find who the king of concentration is, so I'm going to ignore that part. I'm not sure.
It's just the name of a text.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I was not sure. So basically, this is a scriptural proof of the steps to nirvana, right? And a little bit backwards to how one would think. While I tell you this, I want to invite you to think about what we reviewed on the path accumulation, preparation, seeing, and habituation, because they are here. There's a little parallel here if you pay attention. So play with your mind there right now, right? And we're going to pay attention to the last 3 lines in that slide that says, with the emptiness understanding, plant good seeds and meditate, and become very familiar with what you saw. Yes.
Let me read it so everyone can hear it. Yeah.
Okay.
So the text says, suppose you are able, suppose you are able to analyze one by one those things that have no self nature, right? The emptiness of things. Suppose that you're able to do not just the pen, but everything else like that. Yeah. And after that, you habituate your mind, you've trained your mind yourself to what you analyzed individually, meaning you have seen emptiness directly, you've gone through the path of seeing, and you're now in the path of habituation. You remember things don't have a nature, so you act differently. This is what then leads you to achieve your freedom, nirvana, beyond grief. It is impossible for any other cause to bring this peace to you. And that's powerful. If over 2,000 years, people have been meditating, investigating, and the rest, and they say this to us. So here's a little bit of advice. Without seeing emptiness directly, you cannot get free from suffering. Right? And then there's some more. I'll look up the question while you explain the bottom part.
Yeah. So a lot of people confuse emptiness with nirvana, the perception of emptiness with nirvana. And that's one of the main reasons why this is so important, because nirvana, the ultimate nirvana, the full nirvana, full enlightenment, Buddhahood, happens after you have the direct perception. And once you have the direct perception, then you start actually really with all the full intention and power of your mind, planting the causes, putting the seeds there that will lead you to full enlightenment. And through meditation, kind of like water the seeds and make sure that your mind is in the right state to have the experience of being an enlightened being. That's through the path of habituation, where you become more familiar with what you saw. So you have this amazing experience, you come out of the experience and have all these 16, 17 things that we talked about that turn into the four areal truth. And then you have to exist as such and try to live your life as such. And that, living as that, truly with that, eventually will lead you to nirvana. Any questions
Cool.
on that?
So I think the question was, what are the 3 ways to go to nirvana? Yeah, to reach nirvana. 3 main parts of the method for achieving nirvana. So
Right.
they say, number 1, get really used to, get very used to understanding the training on wisdom. It's called the 3 extraordinary trainings, which means understand emptiness, study emptiness, really emptiness. Yeah. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to support that with the other 2 extraordinary trainings that come before the training of wisdom. They say you can't get that emptiness directly until you've mastered concentration. Your mind has to be so supple, so ready to see reality, so still, so not distracted in meditation that you have to have mastered that craft in order to have that experience. You can't get wisdom without concentration. And then they say, well, you can't get concentration without living an ethical life, without removing any things on your conscience. You got to be like a pure person, a kind person, a good person. And these are called the 3 extraordinary trainings. And then you've got to practice that thing that you saw in emptiness. So the bottom line in this text and all the other commentaries are, if you really, really want to free yourselves from all the things that keep bothering you and chasing you, we all have our own particular flavor. If you really, really want to get rid of it, don't think that dealing with the outer world is going to fix it. It might help, but the help will come and go unless you understand really what's causing it. The things don't have a nature. The nature is coming from something in me, in my mind. So we're going to make a little exercise together to actually put it into practice, and it's not just blah, blah words. Is that okay with you all? Little breakout groups. I'm going to ask you in the breakout group, see, that's you in the breakout group typing. Yeah, that's my little enjoyment. Here's the instructions. If you can, do a screenshot. Yeah, but I'll also put these in the chat, and then I'm opening up the chat so you can chat in your breakout groups. But it's the time is 8:30. I'm going to give you a 5-minute pee break, right? So go to the toilet and come back at 8:35 Eastern Standard to begin your breakout group. In your breakout groups, discuss like you did on Tuesday. What's that main affliction, the thing that is bothering your mind over and over? Yeah. And you remember some of the answers from last Tuesday. You should use some of those. I'm anxious. I don't feel good enough. My self-identity. Do you remember those? Sarah, you're nodding. Yeah. Good. Yeah. They are the burning man, the fire, life suffering. Yeah. With what you understand so far, and we'll go deeper, but I want you to try and play with these ideas. With what you understand so far, that things don't have a nature, but that nature comes from you, what in you could have caused that suffering? What could have produced a projection that is real of anxiety, of not good enough, of being judged, or etc.? Think about that, right? So think about what the suffering is. Think what could have produced it in your mind. Discuss it. Then try and think, is it really possible to be permanently free from that? Permanent cessation, completely. Is it possible that my mind could have a moment where it's never going to have that again? And then I'm saying the answer is yes. If that's true, what would be the path? What would be your particular steps to remove the seeds that are projecting that thing for you? And that last part is the important part. And we haven't taught you karma properly yet. So I'm interested to see what you come up with in your groups. Really push your mind to say, let's look at this in a different way. Here is bad self-esteem or whatever. What part do I play? What could have planted those seeds in my mind? What actions could I have put in there that created that thing? Think about that. Then remember, things are possible to change because my mind is empty. I can have an experience free of that, yes. What do I have to do to really remove permanently that and in fact turn it into a bliss? Does that make sense, what I'm asking? Now, why are you doing it in groups? Because you need to help each other. It's a trick to try and work it out individually. So whatever your problems are, put them out there and let everybody say, according to Buddhism this, according to Buddhism that. And then after you've done that for about 20 minutes, spend the last 5 minutes deciding one cool example that you can come back and share with everyone else. Yeah, someone that says, oh, I think we figured it out. For depression, it was caused probably because of this. I can stop those projections by doing this. And it doesn't matter if you're wrong, honestly. You want to be wrong. You want to try and work it out. This is a different way of looking at reality. So what I'll do is I'll open up the chat. I'll put those instructions in your chat room. Take 5 minutes. Start at 8:35, and then I'll pull you out and put messages in there. If you are a teacher at 3 Joules, so Danielle, Gabriel, etc., do not accept the invitation until I say, I want to make sure there's at least one person per group, so I might need to move some of you. Does that help everyone? Good?
Yeah.
So take a
Sorry,
screenshot.
maybe I missed it. How long are we going to be in groups?
20 minutes and the last 5 minutes. So by 9 o'clock, we're coming out of the groups. 8:35, we start the groups. You have 5 minutes now. 8:35, we start the groups. 20 minutes after that makes it 5 minutes too. Is that right? And then the last 5 minutes come to present, and then we'll have a discussion with it all together. So see you in a moment. Accept your groups before I go. Here we go. Breakout groups. We have 60. I'm going to create 6. And if you're a 3 Joules teacher that knows this stuff, please do not accept the invite to go. Enjoy. Now, Hector's got to open up the chat so people can chat. And then if you're at 3 Joules, everyone can chat publicly and privately. Good. Hey, Danielle, it's so nice to see you. Kelly, hi. Hi, Gabriel. So nice to see you. Okay, who am I getting? Kirby, you can go to group 1, no problem. You're in there with Christina. So you two can join in. Gabriel, you're in room 2 with Zach. Enjoy. Sam, stay where you are until our backs are turned. Room 3 has Danielle. You can join group 3 perfectly. You're in there with Kelly, Lena, May. So you're good, Danielle. Jump in there. Jane, stay. don't go. So I'm going to move Jane to group 4. But, sorry, yeah, did I say Jane? Yeah. Move to group 4. Okay, who do we got in group 4? We got Jane. Miriam, you can be the boss of group 4. You're in there with Tala. Just help them try and figure it out. Nice to see you. Happy birthday. Anthony, you're in group 5. Janine, you're in group 5. You can jump in there with Anthony. Javier, you're in room 6 with Sarah L, Pooja, and everyone. So enjoy. Everyone can jump into their groups now. I've moved everyone. I'll pull you out and leave messages soon. Thank you. Lena, did you get your group? Yep, cool. Enjoy whatever you're eating. Looks good. Good. Zach, did you get your group? They might have gone for a break. Okay, I'll be here. Hi, Zoe. How was that practice? And can I put you in a breakout room? Just observe and try and encourage everyone to keep to time. We're coming back at 9. Were you here for the instruction? No. Okay. They're basically looking at what the main issue was that they brought up on Tuesday: anxiety, stress, whatever their suffering is, they're looking to get refuge from. Yeah. And they're looking at it through the 4 truths. Life is suffering. Here is my suffering. I got something to do with it. What in me produced it? What forces those projections? What could I have done to make that, to take responsibility for that? Yeah. And they don't know karmic correlations yet. And then, so just observe the conversation and guide them a little bit. Yeah. If they need guidance, there's other 3 jewelers in there. And then consider the fact that because your mind is empty, it's possible to be completely free, to have nirvana appear, yeah, from that suffering. But step number 4, what would you need to do to remove that suffering altogether? What is it that would plant the seeds to perceive your suffering as not suffering anymore, and in its place bliss? Does that make sense? I can't hear you. Oh, I still can't hear you. Well, what's the answer? The 4 steps. You remove someone else's suffering and you plant their happiness. And then you load your mind with the seeds that will force you to project no longer suffering. Yeah. And in its place beauty. That's the idea. Oh, okay. So I'll put you in a group. Group 3 you're going to, with JJ's in there. Love you. Back at 9. Hi, Becky. Becky and Pooja. Where are you, Becky? Did you get
Oops.
to be part of a group and you got kicked out?
Hi, Hector.
Hi. Did you get kicked out of a group?
No, I'm sorry. I'm just very late, so I probably missed getting put in my group.
Oh, I'm going to go put you in a group. They're working through the afflictions that they had on Tuesday. They're thinking of the correlation that would remove them from their minds completely. So enjoy the chat. Just go observe.
Okay.
I'll put you in a group. Yeah, nice to see you.
Thank you. So nice to talk to you.
Same, same. Let me shove you in group 5. This is a cool group.
Okay, thank you.
Say Hector told me to be here.
Okay.
Enjoy.
You say bye. Wait for like 15 minutes. Oh.
You all pissed out. You had 60 seconds to be forced out. You're like, I'm out of there. Nice. Hi, everyone.
Hola.
Hola. We'll just wait for the rest. They have 60 seconds to finish their discussions and come back a half a minute ago. You all just press the
Hector,
button. Hi.
can I ask you a random question?
Okay, here we go. Who's that?
Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello. When I watched your talk about how to get rid of the angry boss, I thought that was emptiness. That wasn't? Because you talked about he was yelling at you and then you
That's
weren't
so good.
reacting.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
I
you
kept.
saw him. I was like, oh, he did some edibles.
That's what it felt like.
Uh-huh.
I think the closest that thing can be experienced as is the direct perception of dependent origination, which comes before the direct perception of emptiness. When you actually see your mind forcing itself onto otherwise emptiness, like there's something there that is undefinable. It doesn't have a nature, but you just saw yourself creating that nature, not by choice. It's like, oh shit, my mind just labeled that whole thing a certain way. That's, I think, the closest thing you can describe that as is a perception. Let's call it, no, it was a direct perception of dependent origination. You experienced your mind fabricating a reality on something that did not have that reality of its own nature. And it was true for you. It really moved my heart to compassion when I felt that. So, really good question. And we'll get to it, I think, I think we talk about it. It's one of those lines in the five paths. You see a line before the path of seeing and a line after. The line after refers to those four truths, the realizations you have. The line before is that, the dependent origination experience. So that's cool. We can say that, yeah, good. No, we can't say any more than that. But good question, Sarah. You trust me again. Is that what it is? Okay, good. Welcome back, everyone. I popped into every one of your things, and what I heard was awesome. Some of you sort of called me out, so I put my camera on. Others didn't see the camera. So I'm going to go in reverse order. Who's group 6? Javier, that was your group. Who's the spokesperson for that group? And I just want to give a couple of minutes so we can begin to see the theme. And then I want to end on what emptiness is empty of and why it's important to know what you're looking for. And we'll leave you on that before we start next course. So Javier, who was the
Yeah.
spokesperson?
So believe it or not, I ended up becoming the spokesperson. But yeah, so there were like maybe like 3 main things or 2 main things that were showing up in our conversation: self-worth or self-judgment, and loneliness, in different flavors, 2 or 3 flavors each, that we talked about. The main one that
Ice cream.
was that?
It's like ice cream. Yeah.
Like some of them are combined, cookies and cream. The main thing that we discussed was loneliness, and like the cause for loneliness, as we saw it, was rejecting other people, pushing them away. That's what seemed to be like a pattern of when one feels lonely, like building barriers to keep them away, separating them from you or from themselves. And then we all kind of like agreed that if karma emptiness is all true, of course there's a way to stop it. That's nobody seemed to doubt that, at least not intellectually. When it came to, well, what's the karmic path to stop it? That's a little less precise. But at the end, I think we were all able to agree that to stop loneliness, you want to make sure that other people feel companionship and don't feel lonely. To help people basically get together, whether it's between themselves or with you. Even if you don't trust them, even if you don't like them. The point being, if I want to see companionship in my life, I need to see, and if I don't want to feel lonely, I want to make sure that other people are not feeling lonely and other beings are not feeling lonely. If anybody from the group remembers something else that I'm missing, I would love to hear from you guys. No. Okay. I said everything.
Good. What I liked about what you just explained was acknowledging the thing as it is. Okay, there is loneliness felt or whatever it is. Assuming or trying to do the simulation, if things are my projection, then there's some seeds I'm planting that's got to do with loneliness, maybe unconscious or whatever, but am I creating loneliness in others? And where am I? Let me investigate, assuming this cause and effect of projections is true. Then of course I can get rid of it because my mind isn't that nature all the time. It's not lonely all the time. It comes and goes, so it can change. Awesome. And then I loved where you all went and every group was the same. Where the hell would I have to do to change that projection and stop the loneliness and in its place put something else? So I heard some people say, let me bring people together, and that not only gets rid of the loneliness, but it forces your projection to be togetherness. So that's really cool. And we'll learn this in course in 2 weeks from now. Of course,
week 5.
Which is the summary of week 5, which is awesome. We'll get all the technologies on what it is that you need to do to your mind to force a different perception. But it's amazing that you're already there without too much prompting. So who was group 6? Anthony, was that you? 5, group 5, sorry.
5. Yep, Janine's going to be our spokesperson, Hector.
Hi, Janine. Welcome back.
Hi, thank you. Okay, yes, so I got elected for the group. Our 2 main afflictions really went together in terms of judging yourself. So whether it was imposter syndrome and also negative self-talk, the 2 we dealt with together because they had similar causes and a similar flavor. So we were talking about, dealing with judging ourselves as our afflictions, karmically what would have caused it. So we started out sort of with the clearest example of a like action producing a like result was that judging others, so in their exact thing. So we were sharing, like, if we feel imposters about our work, we're judging ourselves. Well, we recall times when we judged others in their work, even in similar fields. So like super spot on. And then the same with judging ourselves, like, well, every time you judge yourself, you plant seeds to judge yourself and to be judged. So then we tried to get a little bit more subtle in terms of like, well, also karma can grow. So it doesn't have to be that same thing. Like I judged an event, so then I'm judging myself at my event. But it could be a much smaller judgment you did that then grows into that. And so we were realizing it's super hard to guess that. And so we played with it a little bit, but we couldn't really draw the correlation. But we're saying, well, maybe it's anytime we got dressed or we thought something. And we started to get a little bit more into, well, you're creating a karma, not just every time you say something, a judgment. So it's every time you think something, say something, or do something. We're like, shoot, that could be anything. So we were trying to think of any time we judged ourselves, and we're getting really subtle. And then we were talking about intention and how you could do a good thing, but still be thinking the judgment. And then you shot yourself in the foot. So we played a lot with that and realized just how hard it is to sort of get at the root of this. So we're trying to imagine what it would be like to be free from it, and realizing when you're doing it to yourself, it gets even harder. But to say that the path out of it would be to work on not judging yourself or others even a little bit. And then we were talking about, Anthony was sharing how in meditation you can work on catching things in your mind before they come up. So really what we're talking about is to say, oh, I'm getting judgy, I can see it coming, and try and nip it before you even go and have the thought. So we set the bar really high for a lot of homework for ourselves.
That's amazing. That's really cool. So good. You must have had someone pop into your group and just give you wisdom or something.
Yeah, who gives us those answers that came at the end?
Only kidding. No, that's amazing. And the one thing I want to add to that for everyone is when you get that, if what you guys worked out is true, which it's what the Buddhists say, that every movement of your mind has a consequence. Therefore, even the subtlest, tiniest movements of mind are producing a consequence. And if they have some negativity, sorry, it grows. Karmas grow. Trees grow from tiny seeds. And so it's not so much, am I a mean person, or it's none of that. It's the low level radiation that is sitting underneath everything we think, say, and do. That this tiny annoyance of, oh God, I have to talk to these people on Tuesday nights. Like, hi everyone. Oh God, I have to go to that low level radiation is what expands into an experience later. And so it's awesome you got there in that group. That's amazing. Congrats. Who's group 4? I hate doing math backwards. Who's group 4?
Sachi, represent.
Yay.
So we had a rainbow of mental afflictions. I can't capture all of them, but we had feelings of guilt, anger, comparing to others, not wanting to participate, lacking motivation, a whole host. So I'll just share mine for like the deep dive, since we couldn't all, we have different causes in our lives. But mine is imposter syndrome, which it sounds like it's coming up in other groups as well. But I boil that down to telling myself that I'm not an expert and telling myself that I don't belong in certain situations at work, even if I know for a fact that's not the case. So tracing that back, totally agree with what Janine said. It's hard to pinpoint exactly, but it must come from making others feel they don't belong or they're not an expert or on top of their game. So then to counteract that, it's about lifting others up and mentoring people and talking about imposter syndrome so that it's out there, because it kind of kills it once you talk about it.
That's amazing. And thank you for being so vulnerable, right? So it's hard to come to these ideas from a Western modern perspective where we think the cause of our things are out there. When we look in here, the revealing feels disgusting. I don't judge people this much. But remember, a tiny seed gives a big result. So just a subtle low-level radiation could produce the whole imposter syndrome if you just have a passing thought that that person's not really an expert. And you didn't think too much about it. You're not sitting there as an evil doer going, you are not the expert. It's not that. It's like, oh, I don't really believe them. That's it. Just one little movement of that mind could produce a habit that then runs on itself, right? It creates its own motion, samsara. So cool. Just to start, I love that you said you had a rainbow, right? In Buddhism, they have a list of how many mental afflictions do humans have. The list is 84,000. There are 84,000 mental afflictions to remove, give and take, right? And then there's a sub list and a sub list and a sub list, and they come down to like the top 10, the top 3, and so on. So it's so cool you're all talking about it. Group 3. Oh, I'm doing good with the math. Who's that? I have all 84,000, says Alison.
I don't know what you're laughing at, but I'm group 3. I was nominated by Daniel Karuna. Daniel.
Daniel. Hi, Daniel.
Sorry, Daniel. I don't know. When I first read it, I was like, Daniel, in my mind, and then I just said it out loud. I'm sorry. I'm a little giggly because I just got off the bike, but someone who will not be named in our group was talking about how an issue they're having is seeing a lot of hot people and wanting to claim them as their own all the time. Take that in whatever way you want to take that. And so that's hard to find the cause of, right? But we had some amazing, really like smart people who gave amazing answers. And my favorite one that stood out, not my favorite one, sorry guys, I like them all very much equally. But the one that stood out to me was that recognizing that there is no separation between, they are not the hotness that would separate them from you. I'm not saying this in a way that makes sense, but seeing, it's so hard to articulate. Are you saying I'm hot, Anna? Yes. I don't know how to explain this. Someone chime in. By the way, this is my confession, and my mom texted me after and was like, is this related to something to do with your celibacy? I was like, I'm not celibate. She just thought I was because this is...
I want to know what the relationship is between finding someone hot, which is actually not an affliction.
Not that part.
It wasn't the hotness that was the affliction. It was the lust and the desire for the perception of the hot person. And I think what Zoe is trying to articulate is to go back into a practice of meditation upon the interdependence, like the angry boss, that they're not actually like the pen coming at you, that the desire is actually coming from you. And so the source of desire is not the hot person. Source of desire is inside of you. And to just practice remembering that, reflecting on that, meditating upon that. So perhaps that lust for what's outside of you is minimized. And I think that can also, I mean, just a side note, build more self-confidence. If you're so desireful, you know, that hotness, that desire, hey, that's yours.
You are the hotness that you project, but the misunderstanding comes from thinking that the mind is telling you it's out there, and if I take it, there's all these negative consequences, and that taking it will plant a negative seed. Is that what you're saying? But recognize, a practice would be recognize that the hotness comes from me, and then the correct action is to experience that, recognize it, and then, I don't know, if you're single, you can go and grab the hotness if they're hot as well, and they, you know, if it's appropriate, you can go enjoy the hotness. No one said don't enjoy the hotness. And there's a difference between ignorant, there's a difference between ignorant desire, which says if I take it, I'll have the joy that my mind tells me I'll get from hotness, and wise desire, like the Buddha has desire to free you from suffering, free me from suffering. They have a desire. It's just not misled that the world has its nature. Okay, cool. I'm moving along. Thank you. Group 2. Who was group 2? Or 3? Did I skip 3? Group 2, please.
Hector, that was us, and Vignesh is going to present for us.
Awesome. Hi.
Hi. Thank you, Gabriel. My name is Vignesh. I'm here with Marissa. We were in group 2, and we discussed a bunch of different mental afflictions, including never being satisfied, feeling excluded, and the one I'm gonna present in detail is the one that I presented, mostly because I feel most comfortable discussing my own afflictions. And that is feeling annoyance and anger often. And the way that mental affliction is present in me is that oftentimes I get on very little things, I'll get annoyed, and that annoyance one can visualize like a spark of fire, like almost like always happening. And then sometimes that turns into anger, which feels more like a fire. And we discussed this a little bit. I was really grateful to be able to discuss it with all of the wise people in the group. And I'm realizing the karmic cause of this is presented another way. The mental affliction of feeling anger or feeling annoyance could be presented as feeling a disturbance in the peace of my mind. So the karmic cause of it then is that my soul must have sowed seeds for this by constantly like disturbing the peace of others' mind. And I imagined almost being like the demon Mara, just going around trying to disturb everyone. And some version of that is absolutely present through my childhood. Like if you talk to my mom, she'll definitely say that, like,
you were the annoying kid.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really enjoyed like pulling pranks and just like scaring my sister. I just like really enjoyed it. And it was like really harmless.
Yeah, but
and then at an even more subtle level, what I'm realizing is that I am very distractible. So the quality of my attention is not very strong, so I can get distracted very easily. And in succumbing to those distractions time and again through my life, I have sowed the seeds of disturbing my own peace of mind easily. So, and on top of that, I have often interrupted other humans. Like I have often entered group spaces without being fully conscious of the energy of the people present, and I've like disturbed their peace of mind by entering in this like strong manner driven by like male privilege in some ways. So that's like another way I've like disturbed peace of mind. So these are, I think, all of the different seeds. I think it would be like what it would look like to not feel anger, annoyance. It would just be blissful. I would just be so happy. Like I've often felt like I've resonated a lot with the character Hulk in like the Marvel comics, which is like just ready to turn into like an angry beast at any given point of time, just like constantly being angry. So it would be really beautiful and blissful to not be that way. And the path is not be distracted. So like really like improve the quality of attention that I bring in any moment. Help others peace of mind whatever way I can. So if like my partner is doing her work, then I take extra care to ensure that I don't disturb her peace of mind anytime I like pass through. And then the third one is like be extra conscious around taking up space in like group conversations and interrupting people in group discussions so I don't disturb their peace of mind.
Wow, Vignesh, that's amazing. Very detailed and amazing. Like way more correlations that I actually expected from everyone in this thing. Really stunning. Thank you so much. See how freeing it is to go past that, oh, it's a problem. If it's in me, I can do something about it, you know? And then the trick there is to say, can you imagine you without it? That's a kind of result refuge, yeah? It's already planting the seed for the possibility. And then that's not enough. You've got to do something about it. So stop disturbing other people's mind or do the strategies, and we'll get finer at that. There are lists in Buddhism where the correlations between this causes that, this causes that. We'll get to that. But amazing. Thank you. Group one, just in the 5 minutes we have, I want to share something. Who's group one? Sam?
Me, yeah. I'll make it punchy. Thank you, Viggy. That was a mic drop moment. So we had also kind of a rainbow of afflictions in our group, from no matter what new job I take, I'm never satisfied, to lacking self-love, to anxiety. And it was, as we've deducted, like very hard to find the origin, like what was the initial seed that got me here now. And what seemed to really be this moment of like relief in a way for the group was this realization of, you know, when we're talking about this question of like, is it possible to be free from this? Have you ever shown up in that? Have you ever gone to work and been happy? Have you ever showed up in the thing that usually makes you anxious and you weren't? One time, even if it was like half a second. And this idea that like, if you could do it one time, you could do it again, you could do it again. And you know, there is a moment to always notice when the affliction's coming up, but also to really habituate your mind on moments where it's not, where you planted some other seed that allowed you to not enter that space in the same way. So that was really a big takeaway for our group.
That's amazing. Oh my God, I'm so in love with everyone's mind. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and working together. Megan, is your question still a question, or did it get answered?
Me?
Yeah, so Maggie, sorry, I saw Megan in my mind.
Oh, it's okay. I really appreciated the last two responses, especially. It did help clarify a bit, but I just wanted to, my mind is like wanting me to critique what we're saying basically, because it seems like we have a very simple formula, right? Like I'm experiencing X because I did X to someone else. And I just wanted to check and see if that's too simple.
Yeah, it's very, very simple.
Okay.
And it's there for a reason. If we don't go that simple, we won't be able to latch onto the idea. The depth of texts and explanations is so complicated that it would just make everybody sign out. Yeah. But the simplicity still functions. So when you go to the readings, which are in Thinkific, you'll begin to get the essence of what it is. There's three kinds of reality that the Buddha say exist and can be experienced. One is through direct experience, called nungyer. So you can see color that way. So if I put a color here, you'll see color. Yeah, if I see a shape, you'll see directly experienced a thing. That's one way of experiencing reality. But that's not all of reality, right? But that's easy. A touch is a touch, a taste is a taste. Like direct experience through the senses is a way to experience reality. Then the Buddha said, besides that obvious reality, there's a ton of reality that we experience that is hidden. And in Tibetan, that means that's kokir, yeah, hidden reality. And we access that real reality, that reality for us, through logic and reasoning and deduction. Yeah. So I have a back, even though you're not having a direct experience of my back. You know I've got one, right? Through reason and deduction, it exists, probably, highly probably. And so you can find realities through logic and reasoning and deduction. That we humans can do that. Does that make some sense? The emptiness of things is categorized in that area. Through logic and reasoning, you can come to the fact that things don't have a nature, that the nature must be coming from a perceiver, and something put that seed or that projection in there. You can come to that in the hidden reality. And then there's another level of reality called Shintu Kokir, which means very hidden reality, which is in that category that is very, very difficult to approach, even with human logic and reasoning. Like it's so far away from us that you need someone that has had that experience or can perceive everything. You need a Buddha or an expert or something. And the analogy here is, if you had a heart problem, you'd go to your general doctor and they can generally tell you it's this. But if it's persistent and you want to get really, really clear on what it is, you'd go to a specialist that only works with hearts, and they can tell, and you trust them. You know, so in that area of reaching reality lies the fine workings of karma, cause and effect. And so there's all this stuff in there and debates about, well, because you can go crazy with this if you start asking, what's the cause of me projecting this kind of hair in my left eyebrow? You know, like that, it's got a cause, but then you got to find out, well, how will that help me? So we'll cover that in class 5, but thanks for the question. One more thing to share with you before we all go. So sorry that I have to rush this one, but I'm so happy that we got to where we got to as a group. Let's go. I'll share one more slide. And then, so you did this thing. Thank you. Thank you. I want to tell you about this thing called a gakcha, or the impossible thing. Yeah. The gakcha is the thing that we deny, the thing that we say does not exist, the thing that Buddhists say could never exist, has never existed, will never exist. And it's a self. Yeah. So when you keep hearing about there's no self in Buddhist text, what the hell do they mean? They mean a self-existent thing, a thing that would exist by itself as it is, separate to you or separate to something else. And here it's a rush job, so please enjoy because I got a minute. There's 3 different schools of thought, and they perceive the self to be something that's made of causes and conditions, or something that's made of parts, or something that's coming from your projections. These are 3 different ways that Buddhists argue about what self means and no self nature. And so they're saying there could never be a self, a pen, without a manufacturer of a pen, a plastic for a pen. That's the first group of Buddhists. They're called the functionalists, right? And so for them, no self or no pen would mean a pen that could appear without plastic and ink and the rest. And the other Buddhists are like, yeah, that's child's play. More important would be a pen that could appear without the parts of a pen. And that's more all-encompassing and as a debate and so on. But the one we're debating here is a self that would exist, a self-existent thing, a self-existent pen that would exist separate from my mind, forcing me to experience it as a pen. And under analysis, you can find its nature. And so there is an impossibility that pen is out there projecting penness to everything that touches. How do I know that? Dogs exist and they don't see it as pen. It's impossible for the person that made you angry to be the source of your anger. That self-nature of causing your anger is impossible. It's an impossible thing. It's like a purple 2-headed elephant. It doesn't exist. You can imagine it, but it doesn't exist. And the point of this is you want to try to find how a self-existent thing would exist if it did exist, so you know what you're looking for. So you know what emptiness is empty of. Is there an angry boss that could ever cause me to be angry? By its nature. If it did, he must always make everyone angry, and he could never do anything other than make everyone angry. That self-nature to a boss must exist in a boss, because I think he caused my anger. If he was the cause of my anger, whoever he walked past must be pissed off, not just Vig and me. Yeah, everyone that passed that boss must be angry because they are radiating anger. And that's impossible because his mother loves him. And so there's no self-nature of angriness in that boss. Could he be an asshole for me? Absolutely. But that he is for me, that's different. So if we know what to look for, then we'll realize we'll never find it. And I'm going to leave you that because it's annoying. Yeah. And then I'll do other things for the impossible thing. So with that, please know all the readings are on Thinkific. The videos from last sessions are on Thinkific. All the answers are on the slide pack. Please enjoy going deeper. There's more stuff available, but That covers the refuge, the emptiness part. Next week, we start with Javier on why meditation can help us have this experience of emptiness, the importance of all meditation practices, and the real goal of meditation. Sorry, I'm running 4 minutes late. Javier, you want to run the show?
Sure thing.
I'll...
All right. 스시 붓기 육심에 돋다 리라블린시는데 겐파리 상기신드 믹텔와르기 두근남다 신가 주파쇼 이람 구르라나 만달라 칸니리아타야미 게와디지 게워구 스나미에셰 속속시 스나미에셰 레중웨 담파쿠니 두파쇼.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your openness, your vulnerability, your ability to think differently. You've done a great good in your mind to try and shift the broken. Sleep on it. See you on Tuesday. Blessings to you all and a bit of love. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So nice to see everyone here. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for the class.
Love you all.
Love you.
Peace, Christina. My pressure. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks,
Thank
Diego.
you.
Thank you. Thanks, Anthony. Daniel. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.